I'd like to ask Linda Oakes, our health director. She's going to have some great news for us later on, but I'd like for her to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance this morning.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to the July 1st, 2019 meeting of the Shawnee County Board of Commissioners. My name is Bob Archer. I currently serve as chair of the commission and represent District 3 alongside Commissioner Bill Rippon, who represents District 1, and Commissioner Kevin Cook, who represents District 2. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
First item of business, please.
First item, proclamations, presentations. Presentation on addressing food insecurity in Shawnee County. Craig Barnes, Health Department.
Good morning, Commissioners. Craig Barnes, Health Department. I'm going to get this slideshow pulled up here and then get us started. Okay. All right. So a wonderful hot Monday morning to you all today. It's a little muggy out there today, isn't it?
Yes.
Not too many mosquitoes, though, so that's a plus. And I'm out here to talk about mosquitoes today, so I'm sure you're excited about that. So today what I'm going to be speaking about is a little bit of addressing the food insecurity and food access issues that we have here in Topeka and Shawnee County. Last week on Monday, we had our epidemiologist and Linda Oakes, our director, talk a little bit about the most current issue of our epi-surveillance newsletter that we put out each month. And the topic that we presented on within that newsletter was food access and food insecurity. And during that Monday presentation to you all, we got a lot of good feedback and a lot of media coverage from that, and as such, from the public as well, wanting to know a little bit more. So we thought it was important, as such, to then kind of bring to the forefront kind of how we got started on these food issues here in our community, a little bit of background, what we're doing now, and what the next steps are. So it's going to be just a short presentation today kind of to talk about those issues and kind of what we're doing to tackle those. So what we did, so this is just a, on the first here, this is just a diagram of the local food system. I will refer back to this as we get diving a little bit more, but this is to show that the food system itself is very diverse. There's a lot of pieces that go into it. That doesn't just start from the growing and the buying of food. There's the processing, the distribution, the preparation, and then the piece that a lot of people forget about is even the waste management piece. And I'm going to hit on that pretty good today and kind of dive into that data. So, a little bit of background. In 2014, we did our first, our first new community health needs assessment, kind of the new situation of how we were doing those. And within that needs assessment, the data that we found, addressing food security issues and food access was a top priority for our community, for the respondents that we did, not only for the community as a whole, but the key stakeholders at the table. And so with that, we developed in 2015 our first community health improvement plan for Shawnee County. As a part of that, I was privileged to be one of the co-chairs for our Healthy Eating and Active Living work group that was formed under HHN at the time. And we were tasked with developing goals and strategies and some intervention strategies around that to impact the food system here in our community. And so we did a good job of creating a lot of opportunities and strategic interventions around food security. One of the biggest things that we wanted to accomplish at the time was to do a full comprehensive food system assessment for Shawnee County, the first of its kind, to really look at what were the major barriers to either eating healthy or getting access to good food. Were there other things, whether to related to economic development in food, that we could look at specifically? And so we started the data compilation portion in 2016, in the late fall and winter of there. As part of that, we did these feast events. And what feast events are, they are a model for community engagement developed by the Oregon Food Bank. And feast stands for Food, education, agriculture, solutions together. So we held 2 half-day events, January 28th and February 1st of 2017, which were attended by 56 community residents from a lot of different sectors of our community. So these are people who are engaged in food distribution, people who work for the school districts in food service, general community members who are just interested in the food system as a whole, as well as producers. And so we had a very diverse collection of stakeholders, and we're able to get a lot of really good community perceptions about our food system. So what we did from the feast events, and then the data that we compiled throughout the data collection time. And we did this in a partnership, Heartland Healthy Neighborhoods, the Health Department, and LeClaire Consulting Services. A couple of things that we learned here during the data collection process was that agriculture and food contribute to about $2 billion to our community. So agriculture, we employ here locally about 7,000 people. And food manufacturing is a large driver. They have about 2,300 employees with about $99 million in wages in just food manufacturing alone here in our community. At the time, more than 1 in 7 households struggled to get food. That number has decreased a little bit for us here, luckily, since we did this data back when we did the food system assessment, and it's now to 1 in 8. But we also have, what we know too, is that now 1 in 5 children also live in a household that is listed as food secure. So we still know that there are issues there, and we are trying to figure out ways to adequately address those issues. Right here, 51 million pounds of food is wasted in our community. So I talked about, back here to the very beginning, the waste management section. This is a part of the food system that a lot of people forget about. And so what we learned was about 51 million pounds of food is wasted. That equates to also just over 25,000 tons. And so you think about the amount of food that's being wasted, that's a huge number, and we still at the same time have about 27,000 residents in Topeka and Shawnee County that struggle just to get food. So can we look at innovative ways and approaches to figure out some way maybe to repurpose and use some of that food that is wasted here in the community and get those to community members who are low income and might have limited access to food. We also learned at the time, we had Dillon's that had just closed on Huntoon. But 3 grocery stores had closed in the previous couple of years, leaving about 31,000 people without easy access to healthy food options. In the county, we looked at, the city of Auburn, had also lost its grocery store as well. And so a portion of our county residents in the county, where that might have been the first and the closest place for them to get groceries, we're now having to come all the way into the city of Topeka to get food. We also learned that about 79% of USC 501, so Topeka Public School students, are eligible for free or reduced price lunches, compared to the state rate, which was just under 50%. And that at the time had been an 11% increase over the last 8 years when we did the data compilation in 2016 and 2017. So out of that, what we developed was, as I kind of mentioned and alluded to earlier, was the first Shawnee County Food System Assessment, which was a very detailed and I said brief presentation, so I won't dive through this all, but I'll make sure that each of you commissioners get a copy of this as well. But through that and all the data, what we came to a consensus were these 4 recommendations. And the first being a process to review and impact local policies and how they will have an impact on health, hunger, equity, and agriculture. The development of a local food and farm council. Healthy food guidelines for public places, and a strategic investment in a health plan or position for Shawnee County to further support these recommendations. So as you'll notice here, I have 2 check marks on there, and realistically I probably could put a third one up on the top bullet point to show that we have done quite a bit of work here. I'll start at the bottom here first, but this commission was instrumental in creating the first of its kind for this community, a community health planner to specifically facilitate interventions that are developed within the community health improvement plan. And so a lot of the work that we're looking at for food access also coincides with intervention strategies and goals, as I'll allude to here a little bit, that are in the current chip that we have that we developed in 2015, as well as the most recent iteration that we are creating now that we plan to have published by the end of this year. So that was a win for the community. We definitely think that is a major plus to our community, to have a community health planner that is able to work and network with multiple different sectors, not just in public health, to bring a lot of partners to the table to make an impact on these types of issues. The other one here is the development of a local food and farm council. I put a check next to that because that is happening right now. And it is our goal, and I'm lucky enough to be on the steering committee for the Shawnee County Farm and Food Task Force. And we are in the process right now of developing a Farm and Food Council. And so, it's kind of the logo unveiling, if you will, of the council. So we created, and we're in the process of this task force, of creating a Farm and Food Advisory Council for Shawnee County. We are in the kind of the final stages, if you will. We have created bylaws. We've created a mission statement, as you see here, which is to bring together a diverse group of public and private stakeholders in a collaborative effort to improve access to locally grown, healthy foods to overall strengthen our food system. What we learned through the whole process of the data collection is that our food system here in Shawnee County is very multifaceted and complex. It has strengths and weaknesses, and as food is generally abundant in our community, not all the options are healthy, and substantial numbers of our community members still lack access to healthy food, whether that be either due to geographic challenges or affordability. What a Farm and Food Advisory Council, as I kind of alluded to earlier, it consists of a group of representatives and stakeholders where the food system is a top priority to them. And it comes up with all those, again, those 6 sectors. And so what we are looking to create here is a council that that will ultimately consist of about 15 members is what we're looking at, and hopefully and potentially we'll have 2 appointed members, one from this commission and one from the city council and mayor. We would have 2 appointed positions onto this council, and this council would ultimately then look at recommending and looking at different policies for the food sector, and address those and bring those to the governing bodies to look at and see if that is something that would be appropriate for our community. So the central aim of most food policy councils is basically, like I said, to improve local food systems, spurring economic development, and making sure that food systems are more environmentally sustainable and socially just. So to this end, food policy councils often engage with policymakers, and that's the goal for this community council, is to engage and kind of do a little bit of learning as well as teaching in there. So to make policy recommendations, writing food policy, and do food system research. It is our goal that this council will continue with that food system assessment, and we do one of these every 5 years or so to look at our food system here and make sure that the intervention strategies that we are undertaking and implementing are actually having an impact on the food system and making it easier for our residents to get good, healthy food and affordable food. Because yes, we understand that we want everyone to eat healthy, but sometimes just getting food in general is an issue. And so we want to make sure that this is very equitable across our entire community. So with that, I threw this slide together, and it's a little hodgepodge. There's a little bit of everything on there, but, you know, nobody hates visuals, right? So, but what I wanted to talk about a little bit was some of the potential interventions that not only could a food policy council help and assist with at looking at and bringing together multiple community partners together to make an impact, but also kind of throw out what our community partners could be looking at as well. So some of the things and policy recommendations that you could look at is increasing participation in both SNAP and WIC to our families here and locally. And additionally to that, with SNAP is to work with grocery stores and convenience stores and farmers markets to make it so that they accept SNAP benefits, so that those who are on the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program can utilize those in their stores or at the farmers market. We have the unique ability and and the privilege here locally, our downtown farmers market accepts SNAP benefits. So if you are a SNAP recipient, you can go to the downtown farmers market on Saturday mornings and use your SNAP benefits. Not only that, but they take it a step further, and you see that Double Up Food Bucks logo at the bottom. We do a program here called Market Match. So you can actually swipe your SNAP benefits, say for $10, and you will actually get you'll get your $10 plus $10 more to spend at the farmer's market. So you'll actually get, through a grant program, $10 extra to spend on healthy produce at the farmer's market. So then that's money that our community members are putting right back into our community for the farmers that are growing here locally. Community gardens. We have a great policy at the city level that allows you to use vacant lots to open up community gardens. And so we need to work with our partners to make sure more communities are taking advantage of that fact. There's grocery stores, bringing and maybe recruiting grocery stores to our community to alleviate some of the food deserts. Last week on Monday, there was a great map that showed how a large contingent of Shawnee County and Topeka is a food desert that has limited access to a grocery store. So can we recruit a grocery store and add new jobs to our community while also giving access to healthy food options? Other policies such as just healthy vending. The health department, we have a healthy vending policy so that if we were to bring in healthy vending or vending options, that a certain percentage of those vending options would be healthy. I know Parks and Recreation does that with their vending machines as well in some of their locations. The summer food system, can we increase summer foods feeding sites so more kids have access over the summer when school's not in session to a meal during the day, as well as can we increase farmers markets in some of those areas that might not have as much access. We're great here in Shawnee County. We have a farmers market on 5 of 7 days in our community, all over the community. So it's really, there are different access points for it, but can we partner maybe with, for example, maybe the Metro or somebody to make either low or reduced cost fares to get to the farmers market, to make it a little bit easier for people to get to grocery stores or to get to a farmers market to get food options. So just a few of the potential interventions. So kind of in wrapping up, I know that's a lot of information there, but there are some next steps that we're undertaking right now. The first being, we're having some informational sessions for that Shawnee County Farm and Food Advisory Council. So we are actively looking for people who are interested in the food system and impacting the food system to participate on this council. So we'll be holding 2 informational sessions on what it takes to be a member and to apply. And those will be held at TCAL, the Topeka Center for Advanced Learning and Careers, just there, to the east of Hummer Sports Park on July 18th. We're holding 2 of them, one from 2 to 3, and then one from 5:30 to 6:30. Again, we'll kind of be going over the food system, what it is, how to get involved, and we'll have the membership applications at that time for individuals who are interested in participating in the Food Council. We are looking, again, for that to be a very diverse council from all sectors of those 6 food sectors. I'll go back to this again. So we're looking for areas from everywhere. So that is farmers. We're looking for folks that are at the grocery stores. We're looking for producers, distributors. We're looking for people in waste management. One of the things that we specifically do as well as part of the task force that I'm on is we're specifically looking at also of engaging youth. We'd like to have a youth member on our board as well, because a lot of times the policies that we're looking at enacting, yes, they might be for adults and they're made by adults, but they're also made for kids. And so we want these policies that could be impacting our youth, we want them to have a say in what those policy recommendations could be looking at, because they are also users of the food system. And if they're in school, food service at the schools, they're getting a lunch. So it's important for us to engage youth as the next and emerging leaders for our community and give them an opportunity to highlight their leadership skills as well. So we want to make sure that we are looking and trying to engage the youth in this board as well. Additionally to that, we are partnering with the Central Topeka Oasis Group through Heartland Healthy Neighborhoods and the Health Department to look at a grant opportunity to do a market feasibility study to actually actively look at recruiting a grocery store back into our community. This was something that a group of local NIAs, the Neighborhood Improvement Association members from the neighborhoods that were directly impacted by the closure of the Dillons started, and they engaged Heartland Healthy Neighborhoods and that Healthy Eating Work Group to look at bringing a diverse group of partners together to write a comprehensive grant application to look at doing a market feasibility study, with the goal being of having that market feasibility study as evidence to start those conversations with potential grocers here locally as well as across our region to maybe bring them back into our community. And lastly, like I alluded to, is we have started our process with our next community health improvement plan. And so one of the priority areas, our community again identified safe access to food as a top 5 priority in our community. And so we identified a priority area which is safe access to food with the goal of decreasing food insecurity and food deserts in Shawnee County. So we are actively right now as a steering committee looking at what are some of the objective measures that we can adequately measure and report back out to you as the commission to show an impact that we're doing good work. And then from there to also look at what potential interventions that are innovative and adaptive to address this concern in our community. So a lot of great work happening. There obviously are still some issues with food access and food insecurity in our community, but there's a lot of great work happening across a multitude of different sectors to look at this issue, and we're excited of where this work will be moving towards. So with that, I would love to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Craig. I've got a couple of questions, and the other commissioners might also. When we invest time and money in a project, we expect to see results.
Correct.
Can you give me some idea of what quantitative results you'll be looking at? I mean, what would success look like for this project?
Yeah, so a couple of things really to look at would be, are we reducing the number of adults and children who live in households that are food insecure? Another objective measure that we'd be specifically looking at, are we reducing the number of census tracts that are considered food deserts in our community? Right now we have 9 census tracts in our community that are listed as food deserts. And so our goal, and the goal of, for example, the Central Topeka Oasis Group, is to bring a grocery store back in and reduce that number so that more individuals have direct and close proximity access to a grocery store to get healthy food. Overall, what we then look at are some of our overweight and obese numbers decreasing. So over 2/3 of the Shawnee County population is either overweight or obese, so they have a BMI over 25. And so by increasing access to nutritionally adequate food, we should then also see a turn in those numbers as well. So those are some of the quantitative numbers that we're specifically looking at, whether or not we can make an impact. And those come from the larger data sources. Specifically in our community, it would be, were we able to bring another grocery store? Could we increase the number of summer feeding sites? Things like that, so that we know we are actually impacting a larger number of kids and youth who might not have access to food, or reducing those numbers of students who might be eligible for free or reduced lunches. That would be at a much broader scope by impacting the low income and poverty stricken families here in our community. But a lot of numbers that we'll be able to report back on to you
Very
to
good,
whether or not
because
we can make impact.
This commission's always interested in levels, trends, and comparisons.
Definitely.
I think you know that. One other quick question. How many food programs do we have in Shawnee County?
Oh, that's a great question. I don't know that I could give you a correct answer off the top of my head, but I'd be more than happy to get that number for you and share it with you.
Who they are and what they're doing in our community.
Yeah, definitely. I can do that for you.
Commissioner Cook, anything to add?
Well, just on that last question, when you talk about food programs, I think you also need to take into account the work being done by Parks and Recreation, partnering with different groups and organizations in the community. Silverbacks is one that comes to mind. We also have to look at the Extension Council, the work that's being done by Cindy Evans and her group in providing health access, food access, that work that's being done in the community, and when we take into account that. But as to your question as to what the expected outcome is, I don't believe that the expectation is that the Shawnee County Commission is going to go out and open up a grocery store. And so if we are not opening up the grocery store in the community, what is it that we're doing? Are we helping promote a grocery store? Are we going to the Greater Topeka Partnership and helping them raise private dollars? Because I don't believe that it probably comes out of our workforce. It doesn't fit within the economic scale of JADO, but it might be working with the Greater Topeka Partnership to have them raise private dollars to attract a grocery store. Does it work within different community leaders, activists, to address these food insecurities? I think that's the role of the county commission. But I don't anticipate the county commission is going to go out and open up a Dillon's and get into that business. And I think that's really what I want to stress, is that we're here to help facilitate, to help motivate, to help cheerlead, and to help address the concern, but we're not actually building the grocery store, unless you want to.
Actually, the margins are too small for me to get involved in it personally. No, and that's a good point. We do set the tone. We do lead and set an example, but you're right, we can't force a private business to do anything that they're
Correct.
not going to do. So we have to work with the private sector to get things accomplished.
And I think to that point as well, at the health department, we look at, the scope of our work in terms of Public Health 3.0. And so we see ourselves as the chief health strategist, which is we were really the facilitators and the people providing technical assistance and trying to bring together a collection of diverse stakeholders to make an impact. And so for the commission, we would not be asking you to open a Dillon's or a Hy-Vee or anything of that sort. But things that we could potentially look at as a county level are potentially, zoning or tax incentives for out in the county to specifically look at, a lot of our producers for agriculture, our big crop is cash, or not cash, but grain. Well, that'd be great if our best crop was cash, so, right? We should look at that, right? Find one of those money trees, but, and plant a full grove of those. But no, so we do grain, and a lot of that grain doesn't stay here locally; it goes other places. So the money's coming back here, but it's not helping our community. So are there ways that we could specifically look at maybe some zoning or some tax incentives to maybe increase the commodity crops? So those are fruits and vegetables, so that maybe those then can stay here locally, and something to assist and make it a little bit easier for our community members to afford. So there are options like that the commission could potentially look at, and we'd be more than happy to look at other policy recommendations as well that this commission could look at to affect the food system here in our community.
Very good. Commissioner Rippon?
Yeah, Craig, I have a question. I was looking at one of the maps of the food deserts, and it looked to me like on the map, a lot of the area along 24 Highway, North Topeka, was in a food desert. And yet I'd see there are grocery stores up there. There's a Dillon's, there's a Walmart and whatnot. Why would that area be a food desert?
So what we'd have to look at specifically, and I apologize, I don't have that map in front of me, is the data. So there's also been an Aldi's that's been, or is being built up there. I don't know that it's done quite yet. But so that should, what we hope is make an impact up there. Without having the map right in front of me, I don't know that I could adequately answer your question at this point in time, but I'd be more than happy to get an answer for you and back to you today.
Commissioner Rippon, I might just, in my research and my analysis is that it has to deal with transportation and access to it. While you may have a cluster along 24 Highway, if you live in North Topeka, you have to look at the distance. Is there a reliable bus route? Is there reliable transportation from your location to that location?
Okay.
Good morning, Commissioners. Linda Oaks from the Health Department. My understanding, too, of those food desert definitions is the majority of the people that live in that census tract that are a mile or farther from the nearest grocery store in an urban area or 10 miles in a rural area. So it could be, even though there's a lot of grocery stores up there, most of the people are more than a mile away from it. So that may be why it is that way, too.
Okay.
Any other questions that I can answer for you today, or
I don't
defer?
see any. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Do you work with religious organizations? I know a lot of them hand out, they have food
Yeah, you know,
On a
and
consistent basis.
to Commissioner Cook's point, you know, I thought about creating a slide here to list the partners that we've engaged through this work, realizing then that it probably would have been about 4 slides if we listed all of the partners that we worked with here in our community. But yes, we are working with faith-based organizations. We're working across all sectors to make an impact. And so we would encourage, too, if there's anyone who the food system is something that's specifically of interest to them and they work in the faith-based organizations, we would really strongly encourage them as well to maybe participate and look at being a member of our food council, because a lot of the local faith-based organizations have food pantries or food banks. And so we would be remiss to the commissioner's point here about the different options for food programs. Those are ones that we want to make sure that we highlight, that those are options as well, so.
Yeah, I see a lot of these faith-based organizations that are handing out food, but maybe they're not in the food deserts where they're doing their
Right.
work, and maybe that would help, so.
Indeed.
Excellent discussion. And I anticipate we'll continue this discussion on a
Definitely.
regular basis, and I'll be looking forward to you doing that.
Definitely.
Correct.
It would be my pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, please.
Item 3, consent agenda.
2 items on the consent agenda this morning.
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Motion made to approve the consent agenda by Commissioner Cook, and that was seconded by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor say aye, opposed no. Motion carries 3-0. Next item, please.
Item 4, new business. A, County Clerk number 1, consider all voucher payments.
Under Bridge Project, Finian Turnip Seed, $40,000 is for construction inspection phase for Southeast 29th Street Bridge over Deer Creek. Under County Project and District Court, SciTech Media Systems, Inc., totaling $38,222 is for the audio-visual equipment in courtroom 300. Under General Expenses, Waldinger Corporation, $14,452.75. It's for labor to install backup database from the contingency fund. Total vouchers for June 28th, 2019, $2,134,120.64. And I move that we approve the vouchers.
Second.
Motion made to approve the vouchers by Commissioner Rippon, seconded by Commissioner Cook. All in favor say aye, opposed no. Motion carries 3-0. Next item, please.
Item A2, consider correction orders.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Motion made to approve the correction orders by Commissioner Archer. That was seconded by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor say aye, opposed no. Motion carries 3-0. Next item, please.
Item B, corrections number 1, consider approval of revised fiscal year 2020 behavioral health grant fund budget and narrative for Shawnee County and 2nd Judicial District operations for adult community corrections with reductions to secondary services.
Good morning, Commissioners. Brian Cole, Shawnee County Department of Corrections. This is a community corrections topic that prior to our taking over community corrections, as you know, of this year, June 1st, that the prior administration with community corrections did submit a comprehensive plan and a health care or behavioral health care budget for grant services for, or funding for, through the Kansas Department of Corrections. In speaking with Major Tim Phelps, who I'm going to have him come up here and explain a little bit more of the detail, we were awarded funds, but they were less than what we were requested from the previous administration. There was some discussion that I and Tim Phelps did have with the Kansas Department of Corrections that I'm going to have Tim talk a little bit more about. But as we go forward, that we anticipate, and we will be working closely with Kansas Department of Corrections, that to look at how we can better complete our application forms to be able to secure as much funds as we can for this important critical initiative we do have in the community. Obviously, there is no guarantee, but we do anticipate, and we are obligated to sit at the table with Kansas Department of Corrections and look at those funds. So with that, I wanted to have Major Tim Phelps come through and talk a little bit more about the specifics, as he'll be working more closely with the Kansas Department of Corrections. Tim?
Good morning, Commissioners. Tim Phelps, Department of Corrections. What this item is of course, this grant fund is supplemental to our primary operations for community corrections. What it does is allows us to have a care coordinator and a coach that helps those who are suffering from either substance abuse problems or mental health issues, to be able to go and get treatment and be assessed properly for that treatment in the community. So there are two parts of this grant application. One is for the personnel with RADAC, which is a regional alcohol and drug assessment center, to provide some personnel to help our staff facilitate this treatment process. And the second is what we call vouchers, which is basically if someone needs some mental health medication or they need some funding to let them go to a course, that kind of thing, we provide that funding. It was that funding that was reduced, and I think that our initiative going forward will be to try to do a better job of demonstrating the need through better data inputs and explanation of our services so that KDOC will be more willing to give us everything we ask for in that regard. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any additional questions.
What was the amount of the cut?
I believe that they reduced us by $22,330, and $20,000 of that was related to vouchers. And that,
Questions for Major Phelps?
I'll move for approval of the revised 2020 contract or budget.
Second.
Motion made to approve by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 3-0.
Thank you,
Brian.
Commissioner.
Thank you, Tim. Next item, please.
Item C, Parks and Recreation, number 1, consider authorization and execution of contract C246-2019 with Shawnee Boat and Ski Club to utilize the facilities and Lake Shawnee for a year through June 30, 2020, with a $2,500 contribution to the Parks and Recreation Building Maintenance Fund.
Good morning, Commissioners. Sean Osborne, Parks and Recreation. The item before you is to work with one of our user groups out at the Lake Shawnee, and it's a contract that's with the Boats and Ski Club. And be happy to answer any questions you might have within that contract.
I'll move to approve the contract.
Second.
Motion made to approve by Commissioner Archer, seconded by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 3-0. Next item,
Thank you.
please.
Item C2, consider authorization and execution of contract C247-2019 with It Takes a Village, Inc. to provide programming services for at-risk young people and lease an area at Rice Community Center for an annual fee of $2,500.
Good morning, Commissioners. Susan Fowler Hensler, Parks and Recreation. Before I mention this contract before you today, I just really enjoyed Craig's presentation and thought I would note that the community centers host 4 different groups for food sites: Silverbacks, USD 501, Harvesters, and Topeka North Outreach. Some of them have multiple services at several locations. So we are very proud to be a site host for those groups that come in. The contract you have before you today is with Stephen Massey with It Takes a Village. This is for the Rice Community Center. The programs that this nonprofit offers certainly is lacking on this quadrant. These will be new programs in this area. It'll bring in some different opportunities for the children that live there. The group is already very established and will come in full force. I do have Stephen Massey is here today, and I'd like to bring him up so he could explain to you what he'll be bringing to the community center.
Thank you, Susan. Good morning, Board of Commissioners. It Takes a Village. My name is Stephen Massey. It Takes a Village is what I founded here in Topeka. It's an after-school performing arts youth center. And we have been doing productions in the city at TPAC. We have Mr. Larry, he decided to come and support us as well, who is the director over there. So thank you for being here. But it's, like I said, it's an after-school performing arts youth center. Right now, we're teaching kids just dance because we have no location, no home. We've been going to different locations, church buildings, and so on and so forth. and we actually do the chocolate nutcracker, which is at TPAC, which is our 5th year coming up. We were only supposed to do it 1 year, but the city of Topeka enjoyed it, so we're doing it some more. We do have some of our dancers here, some of our parents here, my mother's here as well. The narrator of the chocolate nutcracker is here, so they've all really supported. We're all really excited about this. What we can offer as partnership with Parks and Recs and at the Rice Community Center is to be able to bring more life into that center, to bring some of the young people in that area into the center. I have now probably about 75 kids that's ready to go. We are so excited about it that we're able to also go into some of the other community centers. I grew up a Parks and Recs kid, so I'm excited to be partnership with that. So we'll be offering not just dance, but music, art, voice lessons, instrumentals. We also have a nutritional program. We'll also be doing some counseling as well, and any type of, I tell all the kids all the time, education first. So we will have tutoring services there as well. So we're just a one-stop shop. That's something I did when I was in Los Angeles. I was there for 12 years, and I've been back since 2011. But it took the city of Topeka raised me, so I'm just ready to give back. Thank you.
So as you can see, there'll be a lot of activity at Rice Center, something that we've really been struggling with over there. So we're excited about this. I think it will invigorate the community. The Topeka East Senior Center that is there now is already, I think they have a lot of great connection between them. So we see great partnership there. They may end up with some senior theater groups that happens. So very excited about this, and as Stephen mentioned, they're willing to go out to some of the other locations, meet us at a park or meet us at some of the other rec centers, and also entice kids into the theater. So with that, I'll open up to any questions if you have them.
And it's 75 strong. I really
Yes.
like it when people come with numbers.
Me too.
Commissioner Cook?
Susan, can you walk through us with the contract, what space is going to be leased, what hours it takes the village is going to be there, how they're going to coordinate with the East Topeka Senior
Sure.
Center, working with the NIA, how this will all interact with all the different groups?
Great question. Yes, so the East Topeka senior citizens are there in the morning, mostly hours. They'll have some special events. I know they have like a senior prom coming up. It Takes a Village will be there a lot in the afternoon. We are still going to staff that center some, especially during the transition period. We'll be using the gym and just coordinate any time that we need to use the gym for maybe a soccer practice or a clinic or things like that. So Parks and Rec will still be doing some programming in there, but NIA will still have their monthly meetings in there. This year when they host the National Night Out, they have a big group that's going to be there now with them to hopefully kick off It Takes a Village. So I think they're all going to work well together, and they'll coordinate it through the recreation leader, Stacy Wonder.
And is the public still going to be able to rent the Rice Community Center for the gym if that was available?
Correct. We try to get those rentals far enough in advance that Stacy will be able to coordinate with Stephen to have those rentals out there. This is very similar to our Topeka Community Cycle project over at Oakland, where they're leasing some space, but yet we still offer a lot of programming and we coordinate with them.
Okay. I think that's the big point to make, is that we're not just turning the rec center over, but this is a program that helps complement other programs that are already going on.
Correct.
Yeah. On the behalf of the East Topeka Senior Citizens, my mother goes there. So I have talked to Deborah Dawkins, who is the director over there, and I know her very well, and we are ready to make sure we that generational gap between the seniors and the youth. We're going to definitely bring that together. We're working on something now.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions?
I'll make a motion then to approve the contract.
I'll second that.
Motion made to approve the contract by Commissioner Cook, and that's seconded by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor say aye, opposed say no. Motion carries 3-0. Susan, Stephen, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you so much for coming this morning. Next item, please.
Item D, Extension Council, number 1, submission of Extension Council's 2020 budget.
Good morning, Commissioners. Cindy Evans, Director for Shawnee County Extension. Well, first, I'd be remiss not to follow the theme, what a great presentation that Craig gave related to food access in this community. And certainly, as Commissioner Cook, mentioned, every agent in my employ is heavily involved in this issue. Our role is education. And so I don't want to take any steam away from the excellent presentation he gave, but we are thrilled to be a partner in all those efforts. Today, though, we are here because it's budget time, and I usually come and talk about the dance that we have, but I was asked by Betty to maybe go in a little bit more detail since we have a new commissioner on board this year. So according to Extension Council law, every year on or before July 15th, the Executive Board of the Shawnee County Extension Council needs to file with the County Commission our budget proposal and in the office of the clerk, and so that's what I am here to do today. And I talk about it as a dance because Extension Council law has been around for a really long time, and the way that it's in the law and the way that we prefer to do it here in this county is different. So by law, we would file it, and then the commissioners have 10 days to act on it. And if it comes back to us and needs to be, something be done with it, then our council revisits it. We bring it back again. We've got 10 days, and you've got 10 days, and then typically the commission was supposed to act. But that doesn't work into the timeline of this commission, and the commission prefers to act on our budget when they act on everybody's budget. And so what I'm here today is just, we are filing our budget. Then I will be back in a week for you to take action and likely reject it, and it won't hurt my feelings because I'm expecting that. And then we will be here for our budget hearing on Tuesday the 9th. My board will revisit that evening. I'll be back on Thursday to bring our second budget, and you will simply acknowledge receipt, typically. I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but Betty asked me to kind of outline. That is the process. And basically, then it'll just be shelved until August when you are ready to consider all the budgets. Do you have any questions of me at this time?
I know Commissioner Rippon looked at me with a quizzical look on his face when you were going through that, so not at this point. Go right ahead.
Okay. I'll be glad to detail it again if you have questions, but you'll see me for the next 3 meetings. So, thank you, Commissioners.
All right, thank you, Cindy. Yeah, it's a strange process that we go. Yeah,
I would move to acknowledge receipt of the Extension Council budget.
very good.
I'll second that.
Motion made to acknowledge receipt by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor say aye, opposed no. Motion carries 3-0. Next item, please.
Item 5, Administrative Communications.
This is an opportunity for department heads, any member of the public, to address the commission this morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Linda Oaks from the Health Department and Craig Barnes. So as you probably all heard Friday, you may have heard some whoops from over at 2nd and McVicker. The Kansas Supreme Court did uphold the Tobacco 21 ordinance, so that will be going to effect here in Topeka. So I can't begin to tell you how pleased I am that they upheld this, as well as all the other communities in Kansas that were anxiously watching and waiting. We know that tobacco is a leading cause of chronic disease and premature death in this country. We know we have a high adult smoking rate here in Shawnee County, so we hope this is a step to help limit the access for young people to those tobacco products. We also know that 95% of adult smokers started before the age of 21. So if we can put a stop to that, make it harder, not impossible, I know that, but harder, then it's a great step. So we will be working with the City of Topeka to help with education, signage, whatever we can do to help the retailers. And Craig, did you want to add anything? Craig worked so hard on this project, so I wanted him to come up too.
Craig Barnes, Health Department. Good to see you again. We're just really excited about this. This comes at a time when electronic cigarettes are increasing exponentially among youth here in our community. And so as the father to a 2-year-old, it's always my goal personally as well is to look at effective public policy that will increase and improve the life of our young people here in our community. So we think that this is a big win for public health and for Shawnee County and Topeka as a whole. So we're really excited about it.
want to congratulate Commissioner Archer again. This was really you started the ball rolling on this, so congratulations again to you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Betty Greiner, Director of Administrative Services. I just wanted to remind the public that our budget hearings start a week from today, July 8th at 10 o'clock. I was also going to show you that on our website, under the Shawnee County Commission, on the right side here, it says Budget Hearings. And this little tab here says View the Schedule. If you go to that, the schedule of the budget hearings will come up, so that the public, if they're wondering when a specific budget hearing is, they can go right to that. And then below that, it says Watch the Videos. If you click on that, it will show all the past budget hearings, the videos, but IT will be adding the new ones. They will not only streaming them live, but they will also be recording them, and then they will have them out there that the public can go and watch them at any time. Also wanted to remind the public that the departments will be presenting their capital improvement plan requests during their budget hearings also.
Thank you, Betty.
Good morning, Commissioners. Susan Fowler-Hensler with Parks and Rec. I have some pictures to pull up here for you. So as you're probably aware, July is National Parks and Recreation Month. The theme for the nation is Game On. And in order to celebrate the parks and recreation, we have several events going on throughout the month of July. Already started has been the Dollar Train rides every Tuesday over at Gage Park. These are very popular, doesn't matter what age you are, everybody likes to ride the mini train. And of course, our big event, Spirit of Kansas, on July 4th out at Lake Shawnee. It consists of tournaments, golf tournaments, which I hear are, both of them are full. Car show, we have food and arts and crafts vendors. We have a ski show. There is a blues festival. At Reynolds Lodge, we also have rides that are happening with Topeka Metro from Ruger Sports Complex. And then, of course, at 10 o'clock, Capitol Federal Fireworks Display will happen. So there's something for everybody out at Lake Shawnee on the 4th. And then, why not spend 2 days, not just one, in a row over the week in our parks? It's a national tradition to come back out the second day on July 5th and help clean up parks. So we do have an organized park cleanup at Dornwood. They'll meet at 9 o'clock at the Spray Park and then clean up the trail. And a picnic on the prairie at Old Prairie Town Ward Mead Botanical Gardens will happen on July 10th. You just supply the picnic and the blanket. The Friends of Ward Mead volunteers are going to be on site giving tours of all the historic buildings and also the gardens. And then, of course, the Mulvane General Store and the drugstore will be open for all those old-fashioned treats that everybody enjoys. This is becoming a popular event up at Shawnee North Family Aquatic Center. We have 5K Water Walk. This will happen July 13th at 7:15 p.m. It's only 25 laps around the lazy river, so it's actually been well attended in the past. And then they have added Aqua Jam on July 3rd. It's going to be set to patriotic music. Dornwood Spray Park has been really popular ever since it was put in. On the 16th, recreation staff will be there with a wreck and roll van from 1 to 3, and we're just going to add some extra games to the activities, so we hope all the kids can come out to that. And we've been partnering up with the Solar System Ambassadors on different stargazing events, and this one in Gage Park on the 20th is celebrating the 50th year of the moon landing. So we will also be having a lot of family and kids games going on, and then of course the telescopes will be out in Gage Park. And we have been out all summer, but we'll continue throughout July and the rest of the summer to be in the parks. So just look for us in your favorite park with the Meet You There Wreck and Roll van. If you go up to our website, we do have a calendar, and it says what parks we'll be at what days. So lots to do the whole month of July, and wanted to make sure everybody knew that there's something for them out there.
Very good, thank you, Susan. Anyone else?
Good morning, Courtney House, Director of Public Works and Solid Waste. As you probably already know, household hazardous waste is open the first Saturday of the month for 10 months in a year. Unfortunately, they're not open for the first Saturday of January or July. So just a friendly community reminder that HHW, Household Hazardous Waste Facility, will not be open this coming Saturday morning.
Thank you, Kurt. Anyone else this morning? Commissioner Cook?
There was a very nice reception for John Knight last Thursday, and I'd like to welcome Tim as his first day as Director of Parks and Rec. And so, hit the ground running on day one.
Very good, thank you. Commissioner Rippon?
Well, I had fun with all the guys from the Gage Park Memorial. We did a cornhole tournament and raised some nice funds for a WW2 memorial they're wanting to put in. So that was it. Other than that, I was just trying to stay cool.
Very good. Well, if you have any questions about the Spirit of Kansas, Commissioner Rippon is the person to see. I see the ads rolling out on TV, and good job. I'd like to welcome District Attorney Kege to our meeting this morning. Thank you for coming. It's always good to see you. Reminder that there will be no meeting on Thursday. It's the 4th of July, so attend the Spirit of Kansas. It's going to be the best fireworks show in the state of Kansas, second to none. And happy 4th, everyone. Have a good holiday. Next item, please.
Item 6, executive session.
There's not a need for an executive session this morning, so we are officially adjourned. Thank you for attending. I need to sign a couple of things. Hey, how are you?